Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Russ, with something to say?
So, something we're going to talk about on the show, a very famous knee doctor visit upcoming. I wanted to mention the vibe. Carey Price is going to New York for a knee check. Just announced. So, but you see, Mike, you had to have me spoil that. But I'm going to give you an equivalent here and not talk about the hockey end of it, but talk about baseball. So, back in '86, a long time ago, some of you weren't born, Tom Seaver was on the Boston Red Sox. And he pitched for a while, and then he had to get knee surgery. He missed the rest of the season. He didn't get to pitch in the World Series. He would have pitched against the Mets. Had he pitched in the World Series, he was sitting next to Roger Clemens in the dugout and sort of helped out a young Roger Clemens because, he was on that team. What's he going to do?
And he taught him how to throw a bat.
Yeah. And so, but the big thing is he didn't feel like he was fully recovered from his knee, right? And that was when knee surgeries were starting to get to be better, where, it wasn't a death sentence. So, Mike, you'll remember this. FAN comes into existence right around that 87 summer, something like that. And Seaver was trying to make a comeback. That was one of their first things that they were announcing on there that, hey, Tom Seaver's trying to come back with the club. They're a little shorter bullpen. And so he did. And he was trying to do it in a simulated game. So he pitched in a simulated game. And he pitched against Ed Hearn, who, by the way, is looking for an organ donation. Go check out Sportsology. No joke. He's already had this once before, but he was a backup catcher for the Mets in '86.
And like a 220 career hitter. So
he got traded for David Cohn,
right,
which was a pretty good trade, right? But anyhow, in this simulated game, Tom Seaver couldn't get him out. And so, years later, that day, a few other times when people had asked Tom Seaver who was his toughest out, he would say Ed Hearn because he realized, hey, he was kind of done at that point. And the fact that he couldn't get out Ed was that was it. He knew his career was over. And I'm telling you, that is the feeling now that I have about Price, because I thought he was okay in his first couple starts, but that last one was really worrisome. And now when you see that he's going to go and get his knee looked at, here's my feeling on that. My initial gut feeling is there are good enough doctors in Montreal for that. He's going for a second opinion to probably already tell him what he already feels in his heart, it's over.
Right.
That's what I think is happening.
Right. And okay. I said this with absolutely no proof a few weeks ago, but I'll say it again now with a little more evidence. Carey Price is going to be the goaltender version of Shea Weber. I don't think he's going to play ever again. I think that they're going to, that's going to be a $10.5 million coupon that it ends up getting traded someplace like Minnesota, where he'll never play and he'll be on LTIR. And it's unfortunate because he's I don't know at this point of his career, and we'll start the show after this. At this point, I don't know whether he's a Hall of Famer. I know he won 2 gold medals. He never won a Stanley Cup. He had a lot of great career stats. I don't know whether he's, good enough to have been a Hall of Famer, but
he's a bubble guy.
He is now. He will be because of Team Canada stuff too. I mean,
no, Olympic gold medals. Not saying are meaningless, but it's it's not as meaning. I mean, you have to have that along with Stanley Cups, or at least
here would be a good debate. Carey Price better than Mike Richter? I don't think so, but I think he's on par with them.
Is he better than Roberto Luongo? No, Luongo's career was
might be a little better than Luongo. If you didn't tell me the stats of the other and how long their careers were, if I just watched them, I might say he's better than Luongo, and I think he could be on par with Richter.
He might be more dominating than Luongo, but
we need to do this as a Judge Kevin Allen thing. We should do this.
Yeah. We'll save this for tomorrow. But
that would be a good one. That would be a good one. I won't. All I can say is that Price is going to be a Hall of Famer. I would bet my house on it. I think that, and I'm not saying that he's better than Richter. Richter should be too. I would bet my house on that too. So
don't bet your house.
Don't bet your house. I mean, then you're going to lose all your video games.
There was a guy back in the Seth Jones McKinnon draft. I was working with Comcast. I put up a mock draft. I had McKinnon first, and the guy goes, "This list is ridiculous. Seth Jones is going first overall. I would bet my house on it." Now, I never went back and answered that guy, even though I saw the comment because he was one of the first, and then I stopped looking at comments.
Yeah.
But that guy would have lost his house.
Yeah, but what you should have done is like, I looked at your house. It's so crappy. I don't want it.
No, I would take all the video games and leave everything else behind.
No, not X. I'm talking about the guy that you bet. No, X,
I would go and I would pillage all the video games and leave everything else.
X house is nice. I've been.
Yeah, thanks. So you guys, a little quick thing is so we do a lot of animal related things around here, and my son has a new
How are the foxes?
A new show that's up. Yeah, my son has a new podcast that just went up about the Stellar Sea Eagle, which is a really great story about. I don't know if you know the Stellar Sea Eagle story, but the Stellar Sea Eagle is a creature that it's a rare endangered bird that's usually found on the northern islands of Japan near Russia.
Okay.
And there has been one that's been spotted in Maine over the last several months.
Wow.
Like 8,000 miles from home. No one knows how it got there, why it's
Just
there.
one.
But yeah, just one. It's a giant. It's one of the biggest. It's got like a 12-foot wingspan. It's just an enormous bird. It's just there. So birders all over the place are going. So we did a podcast on that. But we did my son did a show on that. And also, did you know that Taylor Swift has just had a millipede named after her? This is another animal news thing. So there's an
I
animal.
did not know that. I'm not sure that's a real big deal though. Like,
So there's a guy who named millipedes, and he said during his PhD study or whatever, he discovered a couple millipedes, and Taylor Swift helped him get through. So we were debating. So of course, I made this because I make the puppets around here. So I made this, which is I don't know if this is an abomination towards the world. I don't know if I can actually ever put this on, but I made the Taylor Swift millipede.
Oh.
I
like it because I just feel like it pokes fun at Taylor Swift, and that's okay with me.
I think she would actually probably enjoy it too. I mean, obviously, it's a millipede that was named after her. So, in order to make this, I had to go to a thrift shop and buy a doll.
Have more appendages to play guitar, so that's good.
Yeah, no, she's got plenty of arms. It's a millipede, so
no shortage there.
So yeah, so we're not sure. I'm not sure.
But her legs are not long.
There's debate in my house here as to whether or not because we know
you took a shortcut on the face. I feel like you could have done better on that.
Yeah, you just put it out of Vogue.
Yeah, maybe, possibly. But I think that the debate around here is since a friend of mine is actually we've had him on the show before. He's in Taylor Swift's band.
Yeah, we have.
I haven't shown him this yet. If he sees this now, Dave, let us know if this is going to if she's going to be completely pissed off at this.
I think he should put it on his keyboard or on his piano at the show. Like, I think that's perfect.
I don't know.
I'm sure that'll get him a new contract.
Yeah, I'm worried. All right, ready? Here we go. But that's what I do with my time. Hello, Hockey World. It's Tuesday, April 26th, 2022.
I'm Michael Agello, and I just heard that they are naming a slug after Russ Cohen.
I really have nothing to say on that. I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Eklund, and you're watching Hockey Buzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday to fill you in on comings and goings in the hockey world. And tonight we have some really, really good games going. Tonight's the night when you need to have your multiple screens going. Like I have my suitcase. Check that out on my Twitter page of 6 different screens that I'll show you guys later, maybe in the show. But you need everything going tonight to be able to see what is going to happen because tonight we have many games. So what I did, like I promised yesterday, I went through and I played with the major season projector final standings Hockey Buzz device. I ran through today the Eastern Conference, and let's go through the Eastern Conference and see how that'll play out here.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll dispute your needing 6 screens. I think you need 3 tonight, but we'll talk.
We don't need 3, but all right. So tonight, here we go. These are the games tonight. Sorry, tonight Toronto beats Detroit flat out. Boston overtime win against the Florida Panthers. The Boston Bruins have had a good record against the Panthers. And my typical thing here too is that when a team loses its 13, loses a big streak like that, there tends to be a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah, but I think they already had that in the loss.
When you lose the game, you'll see teams usually. Quite often when a team loses a long streak, they lose a couple games in a row. It's not just one game.
I'm not buying it for this one. I'm taking Florida.
Overtime win. It's close. I mean, it's anything. It could be anything. So it's not like a blowout. Edmonton win over Pittsburgh. Tampa win over Columbus. The Rangers win over Carolina, which is going we can talk about that as being debatable or not. But based
Bring
on
your lead down to 2 points, then.
Yeah. 2 points with not an overtime win, but a straight out win over Carolina. The Rangers have played Carolina well, and the Carolina Hurricanes, with the injuries they have, although the one Ranta will be backing up tonight, but that doesn't really help much.
No, I mean, I'll take Kochikov over Ranta. I'm not a Ranta guy anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, Russ, you would, but what will Brindamore do? I think if Ranta is close to 100% and Anderson is not a factor, not available for game one, they're going with Ranta over Kochikov.
I don't know. If Kochikov wins this game, I would dispute that.
Okay, but if the Rangers score 8 on them,
okay, sure, then.
Well, Carolina's, I mean, so let's continue on. Capitals beat the Islanders tonight too, straight up. That's tonight. Tomorrow night, only one game. The Rangers will beat Montreal Canadiens. Then Thursday night, the Capitals will beat the Islanders again, because they have owned the Islanders, and we know that that's done. Boston will beat Buffalo. The Devils will overtime win on Carolina. This is another thing that they've had this. The Devils have had Carolina's number.
I can see the Devils pulling that out. Yeah,
Carolina's struggling. Overtime win there with the Devils. The Devils might have one more trick up their sleeve. Tampa will beat Columbus straight out. Toronto tomorrow on Friday. Toronto an overtime win over Boston. It's been tight, but Toronto has had their number.
Well, I'll tell you right now. Toronto will probably end up sitting half of their team against the Bruins.
Yeah, I mean that's very possible, and that
it could be Shalgren and net. It could Riley could be rested. If Matthews scores twice tonight and gets 60, he could be rested against Boston. Marner, they may rest their core guys and give them the night off because they played a really tough long season, so that's very possible.
Pittsburgh will beat Columbus. The Rangers with an overtime win over Washington, because the game will mean a lot to the Rangers. And
I don't think they will at that point. I'm not sure.
Overtime win over Washington?
I don't know. I mean, I can't tell you for sure that the Rangers are going to beat Carolina tonight, so I'm not sure that game is going to mean a lot. Like that's
right. No, it's true. Like if they lose to Carolina tonight, that changes.
Right.
And I mentioned yesterday, and it's now I think more of a factor that Ovechkin did not practice today. He's out day to day. They're probably gonna, it doesn't sound like it's a season-ending injury, but it's something where he's banged up. He may not play the last few games for the Capitals, and if that's the case, a Capitals team without Ovechkin or without 100% Ovechkin is easier to beat than a team.
Right, and it's going to be up to the Islanders because the Islanders have 2 games. Tampa then beats the Islanders to end the season of our.
The Islanders basically, you've had them losing out the rest of the season.
I have them losing out these 3 games.
Truth has come out.
No, they since they've fallen out of it completely, they've done nothing but lose, Russ. I mean, they really.
I just can't think of a worse way to end their first year in their new building by losing out these last 3 games.
Yeah, it's a great point. So what does that mean if that all comes out to play? Well, Florida ends up the season with 125 points, number 1 in the Atlantic Division. That's not a surprise. Toronto ends up with 115 points in second place. Tampa ends up in third place with 112 points. So we'd see the Toronto-Tampa battle.
What that means is that 2 teams with over 100 points will be eliminated by the second round.
Yeah,
hence the brilliance of the current Stanley Cup playoff format.
Well, actually, all these teams will have over 100 points that make it.
Right. So you can have 4 teams with 100 points. I'm just saying that right now, if you look, and I did this yesterday. If you look at the setup versus conference, not the current setup, it would be Florida, Washington, Carolina, Pittsburgh, Toronto, Boston, and Rangers, Tampa. Pretty different than it is right now.
Right. But that is not what my thing says, though. Okay, so the Metro Division, the Rangers are going to win the Metro Division with 114 points. Carolina in second with 113 points. Washington in third with 105 points. Meaning the first wild card is Boston with 108 and Pittsburgh with 103.
So you have the Rangers winning out and Carolina losing out.
I have Carolina getting a point,
right.
winning one. Yeah, they have 1 in an overtime loss. Yeah, so they've got 2 games left, right? So they've got they lose to the Rangers and they lose to the Devils in overtime, which is going to be devastating because if they get that point, they have the tiebreaker on the Rangers. So if they can get that point to the Rangers. If both teams end up with 114 points, the Carolina gets that spot, right?
Yeah, I just have a feeling it's not going to be that way.
It's tough to. It's very possible.
I can't tell you with great certainty. My gut feeling tells me Carolina's going to edge this out.
Yeah, they could. I mean, but the goalie injuries, and I mean, it's only 2 games, right? So
they win tonight. It's over.
Right. That's why I say it's only 2 games. It really comes down to tonight. And then
if they win in overtime, they clinch.
Yeah. They just need a point basically. And if they can get up, if they can get 1 point.
No, I thought it said they need a win.
No, they need 2 points. They need 2 points.
Right.
But
they need a win.
But I'm just in my scenario, they just need So if they got a point tonight and then a point against New Jersey, they could lose both games and still in overtime and still figure it out. But it's not a great way to stumble into the playoffs for sure. So the matchups would then, in my scenario, be Florida and Pittsburgh, the Rangers and the Bruins, Toronto and Tampa, Carolina and Washington. So the weird thing is, you could have you could have those matchups with teams finishing in different positions too. It's kind of bizarre. So, but the Rangers. So what the Rangers Boston matchup I think would be a good one. It's always
that would be an interesting one because I can't tell you the last time they've matched up in the playoffs.
Yeah, I know.
It's been a lot of years.
Yeah, and it is a naturally Boston New York has such a great rivalry.
It would be I'll tell you where the Rangers would have trouble with the top line of Boston with at home if they match up against like the Rangers second pair. That's there's some room for to score there for Boston. Now Swayman, we'd have to see if he can handle the pressure of like MSG in the playoffs because that could be that'd be something. That is a factor.
That would be a factor.
It would be a great series. I would love it.
Yeah, I think Florida Pittsburgh would be an interesting series too. Kind of not what anyone's been thinking about. Like that's like that.
Nobody's been thinking about Florida Pittsburgh.
I know no one's been thinking about that, and no one's really been thinking about the Rangers and Boston either. I mean, those are 2 series that could come out of nowhere all of a sudden in the next 4 days, and could very easily materialize in the next 4 days, which I think is kind of fascinating because right now we don't know who anybody is playing in that conference. Even Toronto and Tampa aren't.
No, I mean Toronto and Tampa's.
They're all but certain, but they're not. I mean, they're still
Tampa's 3 points up on Boston with I think 3 games to go.
Yeah.
If Tampa gets 1 point, they've locked up third place, and if Toronto gets 1 point, they've locked up second place. So it's over with. I mean,
Toronto. Wait, they only have 3 points on Boston, Mike. So if they get 1 point, they'd be up 4 points, but Boston still could win 3 games. So it's like Boston could still. Or doesn't Boston have 3 games, or they have 2 games left? I'm trying to think.
They both have 3 games.
Right. So Boston still has 6 points to be had, and
they're up by 3 points.
So, but it takes more. So it's going to take more than a single point.
The magic number is 3. Toronto's magic number is 1.
Right. Toronto's magic number is 1, but Tampa's magic number is 3. Tampa's been playing a lot better. It feels like Tampa's going to get that spot, but but Tampa has to play. The Islanders. We talked about that. The Islanders are falling apart. Then they play 2 against Columbus, who they have pretty much owned. I mean, with the exception of 1 playoff series a long time ago. So, they pretty much had Columbus's number. So, yeah, I mean, I love how the East is going to play out over these next couple of days. It's going to be awesome. And but getting into the West, we'll get to the West too because we obviously talked a lot about it yesterday. But how's everybody feeling? The Vegas thing now looks like Leonard is for sure. That's such a messed up situation. Like
he's not going to be on the bench tonight, I'm sure.
No, he's having surgery. He's having surgery.
Yeah, what was the deal with him being on the bench? That was just.
Well, it was a cap thing, apparently.
Yeah.
Now, again, do I know exactly why? No, but
I heard why because basically he would have had to been reported injured for at least a day for them to be able to call up a goaltender on emergency recall because they're up against it. They couldn't put him on LTIR because their LTIR amount is already exhausted because they had so many players on LTIR. Right. So they had to wait for that, because we've had that early in the season where teams had to wait for 24 hours or had to play less than 21 or 20 players in a game because they couldn't call up somebody because they had to wait for a day to pass for the emergency recall to be able to kick in. So so they called up, what is it, Yuri Patera? Yeah, right. Yuri Patera will be the backup for Logan. I mean, we're not casting aspersions at Yuri Patera, but we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here when you're talking about Yuri Patera and Logan Thompson.
By the way, 2013 was the last time that I could find the Rangers played the Bruins in the playoffs, lost 4-1 with Torts.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, they beat Washington to move on to play them.
Right before, on the way.
2013. Oh, I know. I know why. Now I remember, because if you remember, that was the year the Leafs lost the Bruins in 7 games with the 4-1 game. All the Toronto reporters were booking their flights to New York.
Yeah, I always remember everything that happens in hockey based on Leafs losses, Mike. Yes, that is how my brain works.
Well, there have been so many of them over the years. That's a good way to go.
Well, let's see. The Leafs in 1994, they did this. And the Rangers won the cup. No, my brain doesn't work.
They lost to Vancouver in 5 games, and Vancouver lost to the Rangers in 7 games. There you go.
I mean, this is the most screwed up game I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Toronto's losses.
It's like
where that puts it in that season.
It's like the 6 degrees of Maple Leafs.
It really is. It's sick.
It is so that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. No. That's hilarious.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. So, what? My question is this: if Vegas makes the playoffs, which they could, and for a long time there, I was saying they wouldn't, but I said that if Stone didn't return, and Stone returned, so they could. But what are they really? Like, if they get in, if they play Colorado in the first round of the playoffs,
they're a difficult matchup.
They're a wounded animal, is what they are.
Right. They're a difficult matchup. That's all they turn.
Are they? So if you're Colorado, you don't want to play Vegas.
No, because. Like Mike said, they're a wounded animal. They still have enough that could hurt you.
Right.
Maybe you don't know the goalie Logan Thompson that well.
Yeah.
Maybe this series goes 6 or 7. You didn't expect that, and the young team starts panicking. That's how it could go.
They're big and tough, and they have some playoff experience. So if it's a team like Colorado that has Stanley Cup aspirations, do you really want to go through a first? Now, the thing is, Colorado could go through that type of battle with Dallas, who can make it tough on you. But I think
Vegas is pretty good on their home ice too.
Right. I think Vegas can make it tougher.
Yeah.
And you want the easiest path that you can have.
Yeah.
And playing Vegas would be more difficult than playing Dallas.
I think Vegas wins 2 games in that series.
Yeah. Now, I think they can't do it anymore, but I think Vegas could beat Edmonton in the first round. I do.
Yeah, I think they could.
Especially with Darnell Nurse apparently injured, maybe back for the first round, but not 100%. That's a significant hindrance for Edmonton because their defense is not very good.
He can't play 25 minutes a night. They're in trouble.
Right. They're in deep trouble.
You guys heard Bruce Boudreau still thinks that they've got a shot.
I mean, there's not a more positive guy on earth. You could tell Bruce Boudreau that there's a 99% chance that an asteroid is going to hit the planet and blow up, and he'll be like, "Well, we got a 1% chance that it won't happen."
Yeah,
well, that's
Bruce is.
Well, he's
hilarious.
He's basically saying Dallas loses their last 3, Vancouver wins their last 3, and then they're
dreaming.
Yeah, yeah, great. Yeah, that's.
Bruce, go sing that song and dance to somebody else. I'm not even sure. There's no way that Vancouver fan base is buying that, as jaded as they are.
Fantasy.
Yeah. No, I mean, Vegas can technically catch the Kings, right? That still could happen. No. You sure about that? Because what is it? Vegas is.
LA's got 96.
Vegas is 90. They've got 3 games left.
No, I thought you said Vancouver.
No, Vegas could catch LA.
Vegas is 90. LA's got 6. Vegas has got 3 games. Yeah, that they win out.
Yeah, and they have the tiebreaker. They would have the tiebreaker if that happens. So Vegas would get that if they got that.
But when you get to the point where one team has to lose out completely and the other team has to win out completely,
it's not that much when it's only 2 or 3 games though, Mike. I mean, it's not like it's not like we're talking about like winning out.
LA's schedule is extremely easy.
I know. No, I agree. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. But the reality is, like, if Vegas wins tonight and LA loses tonight, does LA play tonight or tomorrow night? I think LA
plays tomorrow night in Seattle.
Right. Or they play Thursday night in Seattle. I'm confused.
And then they play Vancouver.
They play Thursday in Seattle, I think, or no, tomorrow night in Seattle. Tomorrow night in Seattle. You're right. So Vegas wins tonight. Vegas wins tomorrow night.
It puts pressure.
Yeah, it puts pressure on LA.
But they're playing Seattle.
Right. The Kings still have their destiny in their hands.
Yeah, no, they do, but they could still miss the playoffs too. That's the other thing.
They could, but they have to
very unlikely, of course, extremely unlikely. And then they end up with Anaheim. I want to say maybe. No, I'm trying to remember who they end up with. Anyway, the Kings do. But yeah, when you get down to 2 or 3 games though, winning out's not impossible. I mean, it's like you're just talking about winning 3 games in a row or losing 3 games in a row. I mean, that happens all the time. I think that, you also have to look at the teams that feel pressure worse. Like the most pressure right now to me is still on Vegas. Like yes. Vegas still has the pressure on them.
Any team in the playoffs, yes.
Yeah, because to make this,
for the playoffs.
Yeah, like to make this, they really have to.
This is game 7 of the Stanley Cup. Like this is it.
Yeah, right. If they don't make it, there's a problem, and it's a big problem. And I mean, if they do make it, does all of this horrible cap mismanagement and all
it's going to still be there next year?
Going to be there? That's the question. Like,
I don't think. Okay, first of all, we don't know what's going to happen in terms of are they going to fire DeBoer? Are they going to fire GMs?
I think McCrimmon gets fired.
I don't know because I think still you have the McPhee influence there, and I've said this a few times. McCrimmon did what the owner.
It doesn't matter.
I know, but it is going to matter. It is going to.
Hold on, you cannot keep falling back on that when McCrimmon just had this whole thing with Robin Lehner blow up in their face. Hold on. That whole thing blew up in their face. The Dayton thing blew up in their face. That never happened when McPhee was in charge. I could easily see Foley pivoting back to McPhee because McCrimmon couldn't get the job done and he's embarrassed the organization.
I mean that's possible, but I do think the Lehner thing. Who knows whose making that was? Because honestly, it's like Lehner has been playing hurt for a while, and then only when his quality of play was called into question in public by the coach, when the coach knows the guy is playing hurt, did all of a sudden Lehner say, "I'm not going to play anymore"?
Well, again, DeBoer may not even understand the degree of hurt that he was. That's just DeBoer pushing buttons. He does that all the time.
Fight through it, kid. That's. No,
but that's what he is. But you've always talked about McCrimmon on this show.
Yeah.
Even though Foley may have asked him to do things, he didn't ask him to do those things. He asked him to handle it competently.
Yeah. No, he did not ask him to do this thing. I mean, and like I said before, the whole thing that I heard went down. We'll let Fleury go. And that way we can get Eichel. It was just horribly played. Like that. Right. If you're gonna do, the owner did not want Fleury to go. So to me, at the end of the day, that's a big problem, because it's turned out to be that that they really probably should have kept Marc-Andre Fleury. Like as it all plays out, and that to me is if the owner, if they don't make it, the owner didn't want Fleury to go.
Right, but the thing is that decision was made when you signed Lehner to the 5-year contract. You couldn't have $12 million in goaltending, especially with a team that is up against it. And
I don't disagree with you. Yeah.
But again, we don't know if Foley wanted Lehner for 5 years. McCrimmon may have said that's the only way I could get him. And again, that's where Foley can turn on him and say, well, this didn't work out at all.
Well, it's possible. But again, we know for a fact that the Eichel move was something that was Foley wanted Eichel.
Sure.
Okay, so a lot of the problems that have come through over the last 2 or 3 months have been because they went after Eichel. So,
right, but Foley didn't ask McCrimmon to mismanage those problems.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
They had plenty of time. They had plenty of time to figure out what they were going to do in advance.
He did.
Because they knew that they were going to do this. This wasn't like a surprise last-minute move.
I mean, I don't like being put in the position of defending Kelly McCrimmon because I don't think he's done a very good job. But I do also think that he has been doing things that probably he didn't want to do at the behest of the owner. So the owner is a friggin' hypocrite if he fires him.
Oh, listen, if you don't think
I know there's
turn on GMs after asking them to do things, come on.
I know, you're my best buddy and you're fired. I know.
Right.
Right. But in this instance, I think he gets an opportunity to undo some of it. And one of the things I think, like, okay, honestly, I can tell you right now, I don't think Robin Lehner ever plays a game for Vegas ever again. I think
I think you're right on that.
Yeah.
I think we should ask the question, why did Vegas ever pivot from McPhee anyhow?
I heard a little bit about that from the inside story on that. The inside story on that was,
McCrimmon was sought after, Russ.
Right. That's what
why would you make that move?
McCrimmon said he was going to get interviews other places and going to go someplace else.
Right.
They didn't want to lose him.
Right.
McPhee did not really necessarily want to do this. Like I heard it was not something that McPhee did willingly.
But basically, McCrimmon was an assistant GM in Vegas. I know because the Leafs were supposedly interested in him back in the day. He ended up staying with Brandon. He went to Vegas as an assistant GM. He was drawing interest from other teams as a GM, and they did the usual promote Vic Fee up to president, promote him to GM as a title. But really, the anticipation was McPhee was really still the GM.
Right.
But he hasn't been the last couple of years, and McPhee had all the success. Things have gone downhill with McCrimmon.
Yeah, McCrimmon and the owner, I was told, were always closer than McPhee and the owner. Like that.
Well, maybe they were. We don't know if they still are. Right
from the beginning. Yeah, right. But from the beginning, and that the owner just did not want to lose McPhee. Did not want to lose McCrimmon.
Okay, if I had to wager what was more likely, I mean, okay, it's very possible there's a clean sweep, but if I had to wager about what is more likely, DeBoer being fired or McCrimmon being fired, I would bet on DeBoer. Yeah,
me too. Which I think is crazy.
I don't think it's crazy.
I'm not sure DeBoer earned that.
I don't think either of them should be back. But I think McCrimmon should definitely not be back. Like that's like.
I think if Vegas looks at the coaching market out there, DeBoer will get snapped back up. I don't think they should fire him.
Well, that can't be a factor, Russ. I mean,
it has to be a factor because
if you want to keep McCrimmon, someone's got to take the fall. So that's the issue.
And if you're keeping McCrimmon and firing DeBoer, you're now asking McCrimmon to hire another coach, and he's done a lousy job.
Well, then it's McCrimmon along with McPhee. I mean, McPhee has got to be involved here. I mean, do they? Okay, and this is the other thing. Do they ignore the hub, like the? How shall I say it? The criticism of the league or of people who cover the league to hire a Babcock or a Quenneville or somebody. I think that their desire to win is so great that they would basically fly in the face of conventional wisdom and hire somebody like that.
Yeah, you might be right.
Somebody's asking Michael Cohen, did McPhee fire Gallant? I think Gallant got himself fired. That was the impression I got.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely Gallant is definitely.
That was still a bizarre.
Gallant is his own guy, okay.
Gallant we know that there had to be a blow up somewhere to have that all occur.
Yeah, no, there definitely is true. Come here. Sorry, I got dogs fighting at my feet.
Wow, dogs and cats living together in Massachusetts.
Oh my gosh, I know. Remember that Gallant had a couple weird firings, right? Like it wasn't just. Florida was a strange thing.
Yep.
But I both felt from the outside, I mean, at the end of the day, he's just a good coach, like it's.
I mean, McPhee is very stable. He doesn't just fire guys.
No, that's true. That is very true. But again, we don't know how much McCrimmon had control. I think McCrimmon, from what I was told, McCrimmon has the owner's ear, like really.
Yeah, well, the minute if they don't make the playoffs, that we'll see how that holds up.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because again, if they actually brought somebody in from the outside and said, okay, with this cap, with these, players that we have at the top of the heap here making all this kind of money, what's our window? And that person might say, you got like 2 years, and then you're going to be like nowhere. You're going to be like rebuilding like you should have in the first place.
Right. That's true.
To me, that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is some of these players get older. They're not as effective next year. They fire the coach. They bring in a coach who doesn't work. They don't make the playoffs again. Then they're starting to sink badly.
Correct. I mean, Riley Smith.
Yeah, they're going to lose him. I bet you he does go to the Rangers.
I feel like that's going to happen too. Yeah. And they are going to lose him. And again, I really think they should have, because they could have gotten something significant at the deadline. They had an opportunity to. I was told,
but they had to ice him because of the cap. Like, he had that operation, and it's like, that was a cap thing.
But if you get rid of him and you don't take money back, and you get good prospects.
You can't get rid of an injured player, I don't believe.
Yeah, it's true.
So again, this all goes into the management of this whole roster, how the cap has sort of destroyed this team. I mean, the cap is really the villain here.
Here is one solution, because I looked over their roster, and obviously I think they're going to have to choose between Dadonov and Riley Smith, because Riley Smith's a UFA and Dadonov's got a year left, and I think they'll probably trade Dadonov like they couldn't trade him at the deadline. But I also think they're going to end up trading Max Pacioretty.
Yeah, they get something for him.
That's a big if. That is a big if. Right?
Pacioretty's got a year left at $7 million. And
I'll give that, Mike.
Well, I'll give you a potential destination. I'm just telling you, does
Montreal won't. He won't want to go back there either.
Why would Montreal?
Well, just because they have money.
Well, yeah, but no, Montreal's in a rebuild. No, I'm talking about a team. I'm talking about a team that is in need of a hockey trade, that is in the need of, and he's from the New York area. He's from Connecticut. I think he's going to end up with the Islanders. I think he gets traded.
Well, that would fit in with Lou's. Everybody's trending down kind of thing, but
I don't know about that. I
don't even think Lou would do that.
No.
Well,
I think he's destined for like Arizona or Seattle, like something like that.
Well, I don't think because he's still got something left. He
probably has a no move too.
Yeah. But do you think he's going to exercise a no move to go back to go to Long Island?
Long Island, he probably would. He wouldn't go to Seattle, I bet.
No.
New Jersey might take a shot at him. New Jersey might take a shot at him, but not.
Maybe.
I don't think the Islanders would.
It doesn't feel like an Islander move, even though, like, they've got a good enough collection of older players. I just can't imagine they want another one.
But the thing here is we're talking about a team that needs to shake up their roster and another team that needs to shake up their roster. And we're talking about a hockey deal and it's a USA hockey guy that Lamoriello is known for.
Sure, so who are you going to trade for him? Josh Bailey? You're still going to have to.
Something like that.
Yeah, I guess.
How about Josh Bailey and Simeon Varlamov for Robin Lehner and Max Pacioretty?
I mean, you could do it. I don't think
you want to bring Lehner back to the Islanders?
Yeah, they wanted him. He decided they wanted him.
Not now. I mean, now they've got a goalie. They've got
maybe, and he's got 3 years left to fight.
Lehner's a terrible guy to have as your backup. We all know this.
Yeah, he's just not he's not the best backup to be having around.
Not. And the other problem with it is,
let me just explain this to Tim, who I haven't seen in the chat, so welcome. I don't hate the Islanders. I hate their fans for being a bunch of immature assholes, because a guy like John Tavares, who was the centerpiece of their franchise for 7 years, he was a UFA. He saw where the franchise was, which was lost because they did no building. They had a general manager who was ruining the franchise. He decided to go home, which was his right. And the Islanders fans treated him like he was Satan. And I think the fault of Tavares leaving New York was not the Maple Leafs and was not Tavares. It was the Islanders themselves. So I hold their fan base in as much disdain as I possibly can.
Look, I'm from the island. If you're going to call me a Ranger hack would have told would have said, yeah, bring Pacioretty to the Islanders. I hope it sinks them even further. That's not what I said, is it?
No, that's not what you said.
It's not what I said. I said the opposite.
I agree.
I was actually in the best interest of the Islanders for that trade.
Now, okay, here. This is a debating point that we can talk about right now because it's three teams that are not in the that will not be in the playoffs. Philadelphia, the Islanders, and the Devils are probably going to be throwing dough, as Andrew says, at Gaudreau. But the problem is the Flyers don't have the cap room to throw the dough unless they trade Konechny and Van Riemsdyk. The Devils do, and the Islanders don't.
I still think he's going to the Devils because the problem with the Islanders, if you sign Johnny Gaudreau, you no longer can't sign Matt Barzal. Like you're going to lose Matt Barzal, then it's a guarantee.
Yeah, I think you will. I think you have to.
You'll get him on a bridge deal, and you'll be trading him.
Yeah,
like that's a guarantee. And I don't think that's what you want to do.
No, you definitely don't want to do that. You definitely don't want to do that at all.
I love Johnny Gaudreau. That's why I think he's going to the Devils.
I'm of the mindset that Calgary figures this out now. Like I don't know, I don't know how.
I think you're right in the sense that they should have, but here's what I think will happen. Gaudreau won't close the door on Calgary, but there's no way he's letting Calgary sign him before he tests the market. He's this close to testing. He's testing. Now, he could still end up in Calgary, but he's definitely tested the market.
Yes,
yeah.
I agree. He's not going to
don't get this close to all of a sudden not do it.
Exactly.
Off the best year of your career.
Yeah, I mean it's, and if you go back in a time machine a year ago, there was no question.
That's when they made the mistake a year ago.
Right, there was no question that they were going to not bring him back. So it's like that was 2 years ago. It was obvious this was it.
Yep.
But I mean, then he comes out and has the greatest year of his career, and an MVP season and all this stuff, and it's just like it really complicates things. And also just the way he fits with that team is so good. Like, and that team's a dark horse. I mean, Calgary could run. I mean,
they could win the cup. There's no question.
They could make a run, and suddenly, if that happens, then how can you not try to figure out a way to keep him? And he probably wants to stay there if that happens. Like. I never gotten a big, deep desire. I know Gaudreau a little bit. Like I said, our friend Dan Walsh has been on the show, coached him as a kid,
Yeah.
I never got the sense that he absolutely has to live in this area. Like I think that.
No, I'll tell you the feeling I got. I've interviewed him probably 5 or 6 times over the years, and he's always very cordial with the press because he knows when he's in the area, the press is going to want to talk to him. But I get the same feeling from him that I got from Mike Trout, which also was the same thing for Mike Piazza. He loves it here. He grew up close to here. He doesn't want to play here.
Yeah, I get that too. I know, and there's something to that, I mean, yeah. But with Gaudreau, I don't think he doesn't want to play here. I just don't think it's this nagging thing that he has to play here. Like
right. I was saying you're right about that. I don't think
he had to play in Toronto. Like that's something.
Now, look, if the Flyers were a much better team, would that be a more of an allure?
Yeah, I think there's no question he would love to play here. I think he would like to play here, or even love to play here. Like if you grow up in an area that's your favorite team and you throw that sweater on, you get to wear that.
If he got traded here 2 years ago, and then they were trying to extend him, he would have done it.
Yeah, he would have done it. I know, like I've said before, like he is their main target this summer. So
now that you lost Giroux and you can see that things are changing in Flyers land, he's not going to want to do that.
I think the realization is there that Philadelphia would have to make too many moves to open up enough space to sign Gaudreau that I think that would probably put them towards their plan B, which is, I think, Kadri. And
he's definitely on their radar.
That's a pretty poor plan B because, I mean, because honestly, does that mean that you move Kevin Hayes to the wing?
No, they're not going to do that.
So then Kevin Hayes is your third line center making $7 million. And your number 2 center, which would be Kadri, is making probably in the neighborhood of $8 million. And what is Couturier making? 6 something?
Yeah.
He's making about 7. Yeah.
So you're spending you're spending $22 million on your top 3 centers.
Right, but you know what will happen when John Tortorella comes in as the next
There's in your
coach?
top two.
He'll be like, listen, there is no first line, second line, third line, and that's how he'll get away with that. Is he will be like, I play who earns the ice time, and he will eliminate the whole first,
You're
second,
just
third.
trying to kill me, Russ. Is that what you're trying to do?
I mean, I'm just
Just trying to rip my heart. Like, I had to live through a life where Trump was the president and Tarian was an assistant coach on the Flyers, and now I have to go. Now you're telling me that I've got to now I have to do this.
I'm just telling you, there's a chance. Yes.
Oh my God. All right, Tortorella. No, there's a chance, but the Comcast and Tortorella, that's like.
Listen, Comcast wants a name, and they believe they could win. So, Torts is a name,
right?
And he will act like they could win,
right? No,
because he doesn't know any other way,
right? And I'm definitely way more, bullish, I guess, or good. I think the Flyers are capable of getting.
And Brandon Dubinsky will be like an assistant coach.
Yeah, I think the Flyers are capable of getting better faster than you do, than any of you guys do. I really do I like watching their young players. I like what I've seen.
Yeah, I do too, but there's too much.
There's too many of them right now, and it's like you can't. Right now, it's hard to put it all together. They're really like this weird college-y team.
Yeah, I think it's going to take 3 years, no matter what.
Yeah, but I think that when I look at the other teams at the bottom of the league, the other 5 teams at the very bottom, I like the Flyers' future better than any of them.
Better than the Devils?
Yeah.
The only reason you're saying that is because of Carter Hart. If they get the right goalie in free agency, I think you would change your mind.
Hart is. The right goalie is a big factor for sure.
It's a big factor, but the Devils are better in every other way.
Yeah, the Devils have a 1-2 punch up the middle that is 21 and 22 years old, and Heishier and Hughes. They have a linchpin number 1 defenseman in Dougie Hamilton. I think that they have some pretty decent secondary players. Guys like Jesper Bratt and a few others.
They have a few others,
right? They may trade Zaka. That's the rumor out there. They may, they're not going to. They may trade.
Bratt had a big year,
yeah, he did, and that's going to cost them. They may trade Damon Severson. They may trade Mackenzie Blackwood. There's a lot of.
If they get their goalie situation right, they're better than the Flyers.
Right.
That's my belief.
Yeah, you'd have to go player by player. We'll definitely have time to do that in the summer. But it's there. I think that when I look at Seattle, Montreal, I think the Flyers are further along than either of those 2 teams.
Further along in Seattle, Montreal, they're probably a little ahead of. Yes.
Yeah. One interesting thing from yesterday is, it was only 1 game last night. It wasn't all that exciting, obviously. Watched only parts of it. But after the game, I don't know if you saw this. They went up to DeBrincat, and was it DeBrincat?
He scored the final goal.
Right, yeah, it was DeBrincat. Sorry, yeah, it was DeBrincat. Sorry. And they said to him, well, what are your thoughts on, if Taves and Kane aren't back next year?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, we all know that that's a strong possibility. So I'm looking forward to if I have to, take over the reins, I will.
He's got the heart of a lion. I got to go on a serious call. Sorry.
You're fine. You're good.
We'll just finish up with this. Yeah.
Just to me, the thought that his response was that we all know that's a good possibility was really a little bit telling. Like I thought
it's not remote. It's a situation where I'll say this. I think the likelihood of one of them not being back is greater than both of them not being back.
For sure.
I think I could see either Taves retiring or being bought out or being traded. Kane, they could get a return for him. But
it really is the time to trade Patrick Kane. And the Chicago Blackhawks, the way they usually are, they won't hesitate to do that. Because they have shown in their past that when they have waited too long on players, it set them back. So I think that if they go by their history, they should trade Patrick Kane now, because their history has been waiting out players and then to the point where they can't get anything for them. And you're right; they can get a lot for Patrick Kane right now. So that could really turn things around for them. I'm sure we'll talk plenty about Patrick Kane in the summer, but
yeah, I'm just saying that by the time the Hawks have reconstituted and are ready to be playoff contenders again, Patrick Kane may be 37 years old. But the thing is, I would think that a Kane staying in Chicago would come along with an extension, and that would be after July the 1st. Now, they have tons of cap space, so he'd probably expect to get paid what he's getting paid right now, which is $10.5 million.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to go down that road, I mean, this summer is going to sort of be the tripwire of what they want to do. I mean, if they trade him, they can get a ton of value for him from a team that fell short.
Yeah, I agree. They really can. And I think that's how this could play out. But we'll see tonight, guys. Enjoy the games tonight. We have we'll be back again tomorrow with Kevin. We'll get into that. We'll see what we have to talk about as far as how the games play out, and maybe get into the debate about Richter versus Carey Price. I like that one. Remember, folks, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will talk to you.